Discover your true self, a Buddhist journey. Have you ever had a moment where you stopped, really stopped, and asked yourself, who am I, really? Not your job, not your name, not your roles, your past, or your plans, but you, the one who quietly watches all the chaos unfold behind your eyes. Today, we begin a journey inward, not to become someone else, but to remember who you've always been. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom, not to fix, not to improve, but to see clearly, to awaken. Buddhism doesn't give you a new identity. It helps you peel away what you're not, layer by layer, thought by thought, illusion by illusion. And the first illusion? That we are the stories in our head. That we are this solid, unchanging self, who's always right, always the victim, always lacking something. But Buddha taught that the self, as we usually experience it, is not a fixed thing. It's more like a flame, always burning, always changing, never the same from moment to moment. You are not your anger. You are not your achievements. You are not your trauma. You are the space beneath all that. A deep, luminous awareness that watches it all come and go. One of the most powerful tools the Buddha offered us is the practice of mindfulness, sati in Pali. It means to remember the present moment, to remember who we are beneath the noise. Imagine you're sitting quietly, and a painful memory arises. Most of us react immediately. We resist it, we judge it, we drown in it. But mindfulness invites us to simply watch. Oh, here's pain. Here's sadness. Here's a thought that says I'm not enough. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to fight it. You just notice it, breathe with it, and return home, to presence. In that moment, you're not running. You're not performing. You're just here. And that is where your true self lives. There's a Zen saying I love. Sitting quietly, doing nothing, spring comes, and the grass grows by itself. You don't have to chase your true self. You only need to be still long enough for it to return. And stillness doesn't always mean silence or solitude. It means not being pulled by every craving, every fear, every notification. It means living from the inside out, not the outside in. Have you ever noticed how much energy we spend trying to prove something? To be liked, to be successful, to not be left behind? But what if the person you're trying so hard to become isn't any more worthy than the one you already are? Buddhist monks practice something called walking meditation. Every step is slow, deliberate, full of awareness. It's not about getting anywhere. It's about being fully here, with each step, each breath, each moment. You don't need a robe or a monastery to practice this. The next time you walk, from your car to the door, from your kitchen to the sink, try it. Feel the ground under your feet. Feel your breath in your chest. Say quietly, this is my true self, walking, breathing, alive. In Buddhism, there's no fixed soul. But there is something sacred, your capacity to be aware, your ability to see clearly, to suffer and still choose love, to be lost and still come home. The Buddha never said believe me. He said, come and see for yourself. That's what this journey is. A path not toward perfection, but toward authenticity. Not toward an identity, but toward freedom. For me, discovering my true self didn't happen all at once. It wasn't a lightning bolt. It was more like 1,000 tiny awakenings. Moments of honesty. Moments of silence. Moments of falling apart, and realizing, even here, I am still whole. And maybe that's the real miracle. Not that you become something greater, but that you finally see, you were never broken. So I invite you, not to change who you are, but to gently see who you are. Not to chase enlightenment, but to stop and notice. The stillness, the breath, the being behind the doing. That's where your true self lives. Not in your resume, not in your regrets, but in this quiet moment, right now. You don't have to go far to find yourself. You just have to come home. Take a deep breath. Feel the space between thoughts. That gentle awareness. That's you. Welcome back. The truth inside you. A Buddhist invitation to discover who you really are. You've been told to look outward your whole life. Look for happiness in your career. Look for love in someone else. Look for meaning in your achievements, your possessions, your reputation. But what if all of that has only taken you further away? What if the one place you never thought to look, inside yourself, is the only place where truth and peace have always been waiting. This isn't just another self-help video. This is a gentle but bold invitation to return, to peel back the noise, the roles, the stories, and finally meet the person beneath it all. Not the person the world expects, not the image you've curated, but the one you've forgotten and maybe even feared. There's a quiet power in asking a simple question. Who am I, really? Not who you are on paper, not what you do or who you love, but who you are when everything else is silent. In the teachings of Buddhism, this is the first step toward awakening, not adding more, but seeing through what isn't truly you. Because you're not your anxieties. You're not your past mistakes. You're not your social media profile or your bank account balance. These are waves. But beneath the waves is the ocean. The Buddha didn't offer salvation. He offered a mirror. He invited us to see clearly, to notice how we suffer not because life is cruel, but because we've forgotten who we are. He taught that suffering arises when we cling to illusions, the illusion of control, of permanence, of identity. We chase goals, we defend our egos, we fight to prove our worth, all while carrying a quiet emptiness we try to ignore. Sound familiar? Maybe you felt it, that subtle sense that no matter how much you achieve, something's still missing. A gnawing question in the silence. Is this really me? Is this really it? Here's the beautiful truth Buddhism reminds us of. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to fix yourself. You simply need to return to what's already whole within you. And mindfulness, true mindfulness, is the gateway. It's not about closing your eyes and escaping the world. It's about opening your eyes, fully, to the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, without judgment, without running. When you sit in silence and breathe, really breathe, you begin to notice. You are not your thoughts. You are the one watching them. You are not your emotions. You are the space they move through. And that space is who you truly are. There's a Zen story I love. A student asked the master, "What is enlightenment?" The master replied, "When I eat, I eat. When I sleep, I sleep." That's it. Presence. Simplicity. Honesty. The truth isn't found in becoming extraordinary. It's in being authentically ordinary, with your full attention and open heart. I know it can feel intimidating, this idea of finding yourself. We've been conditioned to think we are broken, or that we need to constantly improve to be enough. But the deeper path is not self-improvement. It's self-remembrance. You are not lacking. You are layered, covered in years of fear, comparison, doubt, and doing what was expected. But beneath all of that is clarity, is stillness, is you, untouched, aware, compassionate, alive. So what happens when you start looking inward? The mind may resist. Old fears may surface. You may discover grief, pain, discomfort, the things you've locked away for years. But keep going. Breathe through it. Because on the other side of that discomfort is liberation. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on anything external. The kind of truth that no one can give you or take away. You don't need to escape to the mountains to live this truth. You can remember who you are while doing dishes, while walking the dog, while sitting at a red light. Every moment is an invitation to return, to step out of the noise and into awareness, to meet yourself, not the version the world shaped, but the one that was always here. Quiet, steady, free. So, let me ask you one last time. What if the clarity you've been seeking, the peace you've been chasing, was never outside you? What if all it took was stopping? Not to search for a new self, but to listen to the one that's always been whispering underneath. This is your invitation. Not just from me, but from centuries of wisdom. To let go, to look inward, to begin the journey home, to your true self. If this video spoke to something deep in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Comment below, what does the real you mean to you today? And if you'd like to walk this journey together, subscribe and turn on notifications. More guided reflections and Buddhist insights coming your way. Until next time, stay still, stay honest, and remember, you are already enough. The illusions of self, escaping the trap of identity. We live in an age obsessed with identity. What's your personality type? What's your job title? Are you an introvert or extrovert? Democrat or Republican? Empath or overthinker? What do you identify as? Everywhere we turn, the world urges us to define ourselves in hashtags, bias, LinkedIn headlines, and curated photo grids. But here's the truth that almost no one talks about. Most of what we call identity is just a costume, a collection of labels we've picked up to feel accepted, a mask we wear to feel seen, even if we don't feel known. This is where the Buddhist perspective offers something radical and healing. Buddhism teaches that the self, the one we guard and promote, is not a fixed, solid thing. It's not your job, not your trauma, not even your thoughts or feelings. In fact, the very attachment to identity is one of the root causes of our suffering. Why? Because when we believe we are our image, we become terrified of anything that threatens it. A bad photo, a lost job, a breakup, a failed project. And suddenly, we don't just lose something, we lose ourselves. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I met someone at a conference who introduced himself like this. Hi, I'm David. I'm a startup founder, a meditator, a minimalist, and a vegan. We hadn't even said hello, and already, he handed me a list of identities. But halfway through the event, I saw him in the cafeteria, eating chicken nuggets, scrolling Instagram, and looking exhausted. I don't say this to judge him. I say this because I saw myself in him. I've been there, trying to live up to the brand, keeping the performance alive, checking if I'm still on message, and completely disconnected from the actual, breathing person beneath it all. Social media has trained us to project an ideal version of ourselves, a polished, edited, carefully cropped identity. We filter out the mess. We filter out the doubt. We even filter out the silence. And then we start to forget who we were before the filter. Have you ever caught yourself smiling for a picture and feeling completely numb inside? That's the illusion of self at work. That's what happens when we confuse who we show with who we are. In Buddhism, there's a concept called anatta, or not self. It doesn't mean you don't exist. It means you are not limited to the ideas you have about yourself. You're not your name. You're not your childhood. You're not your past mistakes or your future dreams. You are awareness. You are presence. You are here, before any label, beneath any story. And from that space, there's peace. Because there's nothing left to prove. Nothing to defend. Nothing to maintain. Just this breath. Just this moment. Let me ask you something. If all your labels were stripped away, if you had no job title, no style, no Instagram bio, no accomplishments to your name, would you still feel worthy? Would you still know who you are? Or would there be a quiet panic in the emptiness? That discomfort, that fear, is exactly why we cling to identity. But ironically, it's also the doorway to true freedom. I'll be honest with you. There were years in my life when I thought I had to be a certain kind of person to be loved. The wise one. The strong one. The put-together one. But the more I tried to hold those images together, the more fragmented I felt inside. It wasn't until I allowed those identities to fall apart that something beautiful emerged. Not a better version of me, but a more honest one. A softer one. A self that didn't need to be explained, just lived. What if we stopped trying to find the perfect identity and started connecting with the present self? What if being human didn't require a brand? What if your real power came not from how you're seen, but from how deeply you're willing to see yourself? Without judgment, without performance, without needing to be anything other than awake. Here's the paradox. The more we cling to who we think we are, the more we suffer. But the moment we loosen our grip, the moment we stop chasing validation and labels and categories, we return to something far more real. A self that is spacious. A self that is fluid. A self that is not built, but remembered. That's what the Buddha was pointing to. Not a new identity to wear, but an old truth to return to. So here's your invitation. This week, notice where you're performing. Notice where you're editing yourself to fit the narrative. And in those moments, pause and ask, who am I beneath this? You may not have an answer right away. And that's okay. The question itself is the beginning of liberation. Buddhism's radical self-discovery, the truth of non-self. We spend most of our lives trying to answer a single question. Who am I? We try to define it through our job, our personality, our background, or even our trauma. We say, I'm the responsible one. I'm an overthinker. I'm not good at relationships. And yet, if we are honest, these labels never quite capture us, do they? They shift. They contradict. They leave something out. But what if the problem isn't just how we define ourselves? What if the real illusion is believing there's a fixed self to define in the first place? One of the most radical teachings in Buddhism is the concept of anatta, or non-self. At first, it might sound strange, even unsettling. No self? What does that even mean? Does it mean I don't exist? That nothing matters? Absolutely not. Let's clear that up right away. Anatta isn't about erasing you. It's about freeing you from the false version of you you've been carrying around your whole life. Think of it like this. You're not a solid, unchanging identity. You're a process. More like a river than a rock. More like a flame than a statue. Everything about you, your thoughts, your emotions, even your sense of I, is constantly shifting. And if you slow down just enough, you can see it. Have you ever noticed how your mood, your desires, even your beliefs can change from one day to the next? Who you were at 16 isn't who you are now. Who you'll be in 10 years isn't fully here yet. So where exactly is this unchanging self we cling so tightly to? Imagine this. You wake up feeling hopeful. You get a text that disappoints you. You spill your coffee. By noon, you're frustrated. By 3 p.m., you've had a laugh and feel okay again. At 6 p.m., someone compliments you, and suddenly, you feel like life is good again. So, which version of you is real? The joyful one? The anxious one? The tired one? The inspired one? According to Buddhism, all of them are real, but none of them are you in the permanent sense. They are experiences, arising and passing. Temporary waves on the surface of awareness. Anatta teaches us that the self is not a thing, but a story, one we keep telling ourselves out of habit. A story held together by memory, by fear, and by craving for stability. But here's the liberating part. When you stop clinging to the story, when you stop trying to hold yourself together like a brand or a role or an image, you begin to touch something much deeper. You begin to live with less fear, less pressure to be somebody, more presence, more lightness, more truth. So how do we begin to experience this for ourselves? You don't need to believe anything. Just observe. Try this simple thought experiment. Next time a strong thought arises, like I'm so behind in life or I'm not good enough, instead of believing it, ask, where is this thought coming from? And where does it go when I stop feeding it? Notice how it fades, like smoke. Notice how another thought comes in, and another after that. And yet, you are still here, watching, aware, unchanged by the passing waves. That watching presence, not the thoughts, not the roles, is the closest thing to your true self. And even that, Buddhism says, is not a self in the traditional sense, just open, flowing, clear awareness. I used to think I had to figure out who I was, like it was a riddle to solve. I tried on so many identities. The achiever, the healer, the one who always has it together. But the more I clung to those roles, the more fragile I became. Every mistake felt like a threat. Every criticism felt personal. Every change felt like a crisis. It wasn't until I started letting go of being someone that I began to feel at peace just being. There's a kind of joy that comes from realizing you don't have to protect or prove a self anymore. You can feel sadness without being a sad person. You can feel anxious without being an anxious person. You can succeed without becoming a successful person. You just experience life, moment by moment, with honesty and compassion. And in that space, something beautiful happens. You stop resisting change. You stop needing certainty. You start trusting the flow of your own being. That is real freedom. The teaching of anatta isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to liberate you, to help you drop the heavy mask, to free you from the prison of fixed identity, to show you that you're not a noun, you're a verb. You are not a brand, you are a breath. You are not lost. You've just been looking in the wrong place. Come back to this moment. Come back to awareness. And let the need to be someone dissolve into the quiet miracle of being alive. Mindfulness, your compass inward. Have you ever noticed how rarely we are actually present in our own lives? We are constantly doing, rushing, thinking, scrolling, planning what's next, or replaying what went wrong. But in all this movement, who's really here, experiencing this very moment? Mindfulness isn't just a buzzword. It's not something reserved for retreats, monks, or people with hours to spare. Mindfulness is a compass pointing inward, guiding us back to the richness of now. And the most powerful part? It doesn't require any tools, apps, or special settings. It just requires you, right here, right now. One, mindfulness as a life practice. Mindfulness is often misunderstood as just a form of meditation, something you do on a cushion, eyes closed, in silence. And yes, that's one way to practice it. But the heart of mindfulness is much simpler and far more accessible. It's the art of being aware, moment to moment, without judgment. Imagine washing the dishes. The feel of warm water on your hands. The texture of the sponge. The sound of water hitting the sink. That is mindfulness. Or walking. Noticing your steps. Feeling the ground beneath you. Being aware of the way your body moves. That, too, is mindfulness. You don't need to go anywhere to find peace. Peace is found in presence, and presence begins wherever you are. To a 60-second mindfulness practice. Let's try something together. Wherever you are right now, sitting, standing, even lying down, pause for a moment. Close your eyes if you'd like, or simply soften your gaze. Now bring your attention to your body. Not your thoughts. Your body. Feel the weight of your body on the chair or floor. Notice the points of contact, maybe your feet on the ground, your hands resting on your lap. Take a deep breath in, and exhale slowly. What sensations can you feel? Maybe tingling in your fingers, warmth in your chest, or the gentle rhythm of your breath. Stay with these sensations, just for a few more seconds. No need to analyze anything. Just observe, as if you were watching a gentle breeze ripple through the leaves. That's it. That 1 minute, that was mindfulness. Not escaping. Not fixing. Just being. 3. The deeper gift of observation. Now here's where the magic starts to unfold. When we practice this kind of presence regularly, even in small moments, something remarkable happens. We begin to see ourselves. Truly. Not the version shaped by fear, ego, or past wounds, but the one who simply watches. The silent observer beneath all the noise. We begin to notice. Oh, I'm holding tension in my jaw every time I talk to this person. Or, wow, I'm replaying that mistake again, and again, and again. Or even, I'm not really angry, I'm hurt. These insights don't come from overthinking. They come from awareness, from tuning in, not tuning out. And over time, mindfulness helps us see patterns in our thoughts and emotions. We begin to recognize which beliefs are old scripts we've been carrying, and which ones are truly aligned with who we are today. Mindfulness doesn't give us all the answers, but it gives us something more precious, the clarity to ask better questions. For the practice, not the perfection. Now you might be thinking, but I keep forgetting to be mindful. My mind races. I get distracted all the time. Good. That is the practice. Mindfulness isn't about staying perfectly focused all the time. It's about remembering to come back, again and again. Each time you notice you're lost in thought, and gently return to the breath, that's like doing one push-up for your awareness. And over time, that muscle of attention grows stronger. You begin to carry a stillness within you, even in the middle of chaos. You begin to listen more deeply, to yourself, to others, to life. 5. A compass, not a cure. Let's be honest, mindfulness won't erase life's challenges. It won't magically make pain disappear, or prevent sadness from showing up. But it will change how you relate to those experiences. Instead of reacting blindly, you pause. You breathe. You observe. And from that space, something shifts. You move from surviving to responding. From numbing to feeling. From autopilot to choice. That's what makes mindfulness so radical. It's not just about feeling calm. It's about waking up to your life, one breath at a time. So if you're looking for some deep transformation, don't start by changing your entire life. Start by noticing your breath as you sip your morning coffee. Start by feeling your feet as you walk to your car. Start by listening, not just to others, but to the quiet intelligence within you. Mindfulness isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been, beneath the noise, beyond the rush, and within the stillness of now. Let this be your compass inward. And wherever you go, come home to this moment. Dharma, wisdom for authentic living. Have you ever felt like you're performing your life instead of living it? Like you're constantly adjusting your mask to fit into a world that demands more success, more likes, more validation? But deep down, something inside you whispers, "This isn't me." That whisper, that longing for something real, is the beginning of the path. And that path, in the Buddhist tradition, is called the Dharma. But what is Dharma, really? It's not a rulebook or a religious demand. It's not about becoming perfect. Dharma is simply the wisdom of living in alignment with reality, the kind of wisdom that helps us wake up from the noise, and finally, breathe. Let's begin with the Four Noble Truths. They're not abstract philosophy, they're a mirror to our everyday lives. First, the Buddha said, there is suffering. And not just the big, dramatic kind, but the subtle ache of wanting life to be different than it is. Can you feel that? The tension when things don't go your way, the anxiety of not being enough, the quiet grief of feeling disconnected? Second, he said, suffering has a cause, craving. Not just craving for material things, but craving for identity, for control, for certainty in an uncertain world. It's that itch in the mind that says, once I get this, then I'll be okay. Third, he gave us hope. There is a way out. We don't have to be caught in this loop forever. And fourth, he showed the path, the Eightfold Path. This isn't a to-do list. It's a compass for authentic living. Right view, seeing clearly. Right intention, acting from the heart. Right speech, words that heal. Right action, living in integrity. Right livelihood, doing work that doesn't harm. Right effort, staying awake. Right mindfulness, being here. And right concentration, the deep stillness beyond distraction. Now, you might wonder, what does this ancient path have to do with our modern chaos? With social media burnout, job pressure, or the creeping fear of being left behind? Everything. Because Dharma isn't about escaping life, it's about returning to it. Not the life others expect from you, but the life that feels true, the one that's been waiting quietly beneath the noise. Let me tell you a quick story. A woman I met, let's call her Claire, was in her 40s, working a high-paying job in tech. On the outside, she had everything. But inside, she felt hollow. Every achievement felt like a box ticked for someone else's dream. Then one day, she stumbled upon a Buddhist retreat, not searching for anything, just curious. She sat in silence for days, learning about mindfulness, the Eightfold Path, and most importantly, how to listen to her own mind. She realized she had been living according to fear, not wisdom. Fear of disappointing others, fear of being judged, fear of falling behind. Dharma didn't tell her what to do. It helped her remember what she already knew. She didn't quit her job or move to a monastery. She simply changed how she showed up. She began to speak more honestly, to say no without guilt, to walk slower, breathe deeper, and to choose alignment over approval. And that changed everything. So I ask you, what part of your life feels out of alignment right now? Where are you performing instead of living? And what if the path to freedom isn't out there, but right here, in your next breath, your next choice, your next act of courage? Dharma is not a destination. It's how you walk through the world. With wisdom instead of reaction. With truth instead of performance. With heart instead of fear. So today, you don't need to fix your whole life. You just need to take one step, a step toward what feels real. And maybe, just maybe, that's where your true life begins. Cultivating your true self, daily. Have you ever felt like you're living a version of yourself that doesn't quite fit, but you wear it anyway, like a shirt that used to feel right but now pulls at the seams? In a world that constantly tells us who to be, more productive, more successful, more likable, it's no wonder many of us end up feeling like strangers in our own lives. But what if I told you that you already have everything you need to come home to your true self, quietly, patiently, one mindful step at a time? Today, we explore how to cultivate your true self, daily. Not through grand gestures, but through simple, honest moments, rooted in Buddhist principles that are as ancient as they are deeply relevant in our modern world. Let's begin with this. You are not something to be fixed. You are something to be remembered. The Buddha taught that within each of us lies a seed of awakening, a natural clarity beneath the noise. And the path back to that clarity? It begins with awareness, gentle, loving awareness of our thoughts, our emotions, our habits. So how do we practice this in the real world, amid deadlines, dishes, traffic, and scrolling? Here's where the Dharma becomes not just a philosophy, but a practice. Let's start simple. Here are 3 grounded steps you can take today. 1. Begin your day with stillness, not a screen. Instead of grabbing your phone first thing in the morning, take 2 to 3 minutes to sit in silence. You don't have to meditate perfectly. Just sit. Breathe. Ask gently, what is alive in me right now? No judgment. Just presence. This one act can shift your entire day from reaction to intention. You might think, that's too small to matter. But transformation is often subtle. Like the way a single drop of water, repeated over time, can carve stone. 2. Practice self-compassion, not self-criticism. Most of us speak to ourselves in ways we'd never speak to a friend. You miss a deadline, and your inner voice says, "Ooh, I'm such a mess." You forget something small, and suddenly it becomes, "Why can't I get anything right?" Buddhist wisdom teaches that compassion begins not with others, but within. It's about being a kind witness to your own suffering. When you make a mistake today, try this simple shift. Place your hand gently over your heart, breathe, and say, "This is hard right now, and I choose to meet it with care." Self-compassion isn't indulgence. It's how we begin to heal. It's how we begin to grow, not from shame, but from love. 3. Let go of perfectionism. Embrace the imperfect path. One of the greatest blocks to our authentic self is the belief that we have to get it right. That spirituality has to look a certain way. That we need to be calm all the time, never angry, never overwhelmed. But real growth is messy. Some days you'll feel like you've figured it out. Other days, like you've gone backward. And that's okay. The Eightfold Path in Buddhism isn't a ladder of perfection. It's a compass. It reminds us to live with right view, right intention, right effort. Not perfect view, perfect effort. So today, whatever you're carrying, anxiety, fatigue, disappointment, can you lay down the need to be flawless? Can you choose progress over perfection? Let me share a story. A woman once came to a Dharma teacher feeling hopeless. Her life was full of anxiety, and she had tried everything: books, apps, yoga, therapy. Nothing stuck. The teacher simply asked, "What's one thing you do every day without fail?" She replied, "I brush my teeth." "Good," he said. "Every time you brush, just add 1 breath of awareness. Just 1. She thought it was silly, but she tried. 1 breath. Then 2. Within weeks, brushing her teeth became a ritual of presence. That presence began to show up elsewhere, during meals, during conflict, during moments of doubt. Over time, her anxiety softened, not by force, but by friendship with herself. So here's my invitation to you. Commit to 1 small, consistent practice this week. It could be a mindful breath before meals, a compassionate phrase you whisper when you're stressed, a moment of silence before bed instead of scrolling. Don't wait until you feel ready to begin. The truth is, you become ready by beginning. Remember this. You don't need to chase your true self. You only need to make space for it to return. In every moment, you have a choice. To turn toward yourself with gentleness, to walk a little slower, to breathe a little deeper, to listen a little more closely to the quiet voice beneath the noise, the voice that says, "You are already enough. You are already home." If this message spoke to you, take it to heart. And maybe today, begin again, not perfectly, but sincerely, because cultivating your true self isn't a task. It's a way of being. And it begins now.